Hello, esteemed gentlemen. Every man is two men, the one he shows the world and the one the world would never survive meeting. That's not just poetic exaggeration. Neuroscientists estimate that up to 95% of our thoughts never leave our heads. They live and die in silence. For Sigma males, this isn't just brain science, it's a lifestyle. They walk through society wearing one life like a fitted suit, while secretly maintaining another that's stitched together from contradictions, secrets, and raw truths nobody else could handle. On the outside, they might look like they've got it all figured out, cool, composed, maybe even boring to the untrained eye. But beneath that calm exterior is a second life full of restless schemes, unspoken philosophies, and a strange cocktail of clarity and chaos. Think of it like Batman working a 9-5 as Bruce Wayne, except the Sigma never asked for either role, and probably resents both. This isn't about dual personalities in the cliché sense. It's about a man living two realities, one for survival, one for sanity. And once you see how Sigma males pull this off, you'll realize they're not hiding, they're protecting everyone else from the full blast of who they really are. Number one, they live with a constant shadow version of themselves. They live with a shadow version of themselves, and that shadow never leaves. It's not evil in the cartoon sense, but it's raw, unfiltered, and brutally honest in ways that make the world uncomfortable. This version doesn't care for politeness, doesn't play the game, and doesn't dress its thoughts in acceptable packaging. It's the side that would say the things everyone else is too scared to even think, and that's why Sigma males keep it hidden. Out there in public life, they play a role, hold back, and edit themselves so they don't set the entire room on fire. But in private, that shadow is loud, sharp, and sometimes merciless. Most people operate with one face, a socially approved version of themselves that gets them through the day. A Sigma male operates with two. The surface version is strategic, measured in what it says, careful about who it trusts, always calculating how much to reveal. The shadow version doesn't bother with any of that. It's driven by instinct, insight, and a brutal kind of honesty that would make most people recoil. And here's the paradox. Both versions are real. Neither is fake. But one can't survive in public, and the other can't survive in private. The danger of the shadow isn't that it's destructive, it's that it's too sharp for the softness of society. A Sigma male knows that if he let that part out fully, friendships would crumble, workplaces would burn, and relationships would either end or get rebuilt from the ground up. So he keeps it on a leash, letting it slip out in subtle ways, through an unexpected remark, a piercing silence, or a sudden withdrawal that leaves others unsettled. People sense it without knowing what it is, like catching the edge of something bigger lurking behind the curtain. Living with this shadow isn't easy. It means constantly negotiating with yourself, deciding when to let the world see fragments of your real mind and when to bury them deep. For the Sigma male, this second self is both a burden and a weapon. It keeps him honest with himself while making sure the rest of the world only ever gets the version it can survive. Number two, they know that integration would destroy them. If both of their lives ever merged into one, it would destroy them. That's the secret Sigma males understand better than anyone else. They don't split themselves into two worlds because they're confused or indecisive. They do it because it's the only way to stay balanced. Their public life is functional, measured, and designed for survival. It's the version that deals with society, work, family, and all the little performances everyone is forced to give. But their private life is where they store the real weight of their thoughts, the truths too sharp for ordinary conversations, and the instincts that don't fit neatly into polite living. These two lives are not meant to overlap because blending them would mean one of them has to die. If the private life swallowed the public, the Sigma would become too raw, too unfiltered, and too disconnected from social norms. They'd risk burning bridges, sabotaging careers, and frightening people who simply aren't ready for that level of unrestrained honesty. On the other hand, if the public life swallowed the private, the Sigma would suffocate under constant performance, slowly losing himself to routine, surface-level chatter and the dull weight of conformity. Neither option is survivable. That's why he holds them apart, as if keeping two opposing fires from burning each other out. People often mistake this for secrecy or dishonesty, but it's actually discipline. It takes discipline to know what part of yourself belongs to the world and what part belongs only to you. A Sigma male doesn't trust anyone with the entirety of who he is, not because he's cold, but because he knows the danger of overexposure. Some truths can't be digested. Some honesty would only isolate him further. By keeping his two lives separate, he preserves his freedom without losing his humanity. The irony is that both lives are completely real. The quiet worker and the hidden thinker, the calm friend and the merciless critic, the loyal companion and the lone wanderer, they're all him. But integration would collapse the structure he's built. And once it collapses, there's no rebuilding it. So he protects the split. He doesn't live two lives because he's broken. He lives two lives because it's the only way to remain whole. Number 3. They're spectators and players at the same time. They're both spectators and players, and that double role defines the way they move through the world. On one hand, Sigma males step into the game of life like everyone else, working, speaking, engaging, making moves in the social and professional arenas. But unlike most people, they never lose themselves entirely in the role. Even when they're participating, there's another part of them standing off to the side, quietly watching, dissecting, and recording everything that's happening. It's like playing chess while also being the commentator describing every move for an unseen audience. This split makes them unnerving to others, because people can sense when someone isn't fully absorbed in the moment. Most people throw themselves into situations, arguing, competing, laughing, without thinking about the deeper patterns at play. Sigma males, on the other hand, can laugh at a joke while simultaneously analyzing the power dynamics between the people telling it. They can negotiate in a meeting while also studying the insecurity behind someone's choice of words. They're never just inside the moment, they're also hovering above it. The benefit of this is that they rarely get fooled by the games people play. They're too busy noticing the rules behind the rules. They spot the manipulation, the rehearsed confidence, the small tells that others overlook. But the cost of this is that they rarely feel as free as the people around them. Playing and observing at the same time means you're always split. You can't fully enjoy the game because part of you knows it's just a performance. This duality creates an odd tension. People might see them as calm, engaged, and even approachable. But behind the eyes there's another life running in parallel. That private observer is always cataloging, questioning, and pulling apart the scene for meaning. And that's what sets Sigma males apart. They're not just moving with the crowd. They're studying the crowd, figuring out how the machinery works, and deciding whether the whole thing is worth playing at all. It's not detachment for the sake of arrogance. It's detachment for survival, and it's what makes them sharper than anyone else in the room. Number 4. They run on two energy systems: chaos and stillness. Sigma males survive by running on two completely opposite energy systems: chaos and stillness. On the surface, they project calm, discipline, and composure. To the outside world, they can seem like monks who've mastered their emotions, unshaken by drama and untouched by distraction. But inside, their private life is the opposite. It's a storm of restless thoughts, wild ideas, and conflicting impulses that clash and collide all day long. They're not at peace by nature. They manufacture peace by learning how to ride the chaos without letting it consume them. This duality is why people misunderstand them so easily. Strangers assume their stillness is effortless, when in reality it's earned through constant internal negotiation. They're holding back explosions of thought while trying to maintain a calm exterior. They can walk into a room silently, but inside their mind, they're already breaking apart every detail, asking questions, and running through scenarios. It looks like stillness, but it feels like chaos. The chaos side fuels their creativity, their problem-solving, and their ability to see connections others overlook. It's the raw energy that makes them unpredictable and sharp. But that same chaos can be destructive if it's left unchecked. It can spiral into overthinking, isolation, or intensity that burns bridges. That's where the stillness comes in. Stillness is their reset button, their survival mechanism. It's not just about peace and quiet, it's about building a barrier strong enough to hold back the inner storm. This is why they often disappear or withdraw when others least expect it. People might think they're avoiding responsibility or being antisocial, but in reality they're recalibrating. Without those moments of stillness, the chaos would take over completely and nothing would get done. And without the chaos, their life would flatten into something dull and lifeless, stripping away their edge. Living with these two systems is exhausting, but it's also what makes them different. Most people live on one rhythm. Either they're restless all the time, or they're passive all the time. Sigma males survive by switching between both. They can only function by being calm enough to survive the storm, yet stormy enough to never drown in calm. That tension is where their real power comes from. Number 5. They experience both abundance and emptiness daily. Sigma males live with a strange paradox. Every single day they experience both abundance and emptiness. To the outside world, they project independence, competence, and control. They look like men who have enough, know enough, and can handle anything that comes their way. They may have the skills, the confidence, even the respect of others. From the outside, it looks like abundance, a man who has his life figured out. But inside, there's a hollowness that refuses to go away, no matter how much they achieve or how many people admire them. This emptiness isn't about lacking money, status, or relationships. It runs deeper than that. It's the quiet sense that nothing external can fully touch them or fill them. Achievements feel temporary. Recognition fades quickly. Even intimacy, as meaningful as it can be, doesn't permanently silence the feeling that something is missing. And here's the brutal truth. They've learned that no one else is responsible for curing it. They can be surrounded by people, opportunities, and accomplishments, and still feel like they're carrying a void that belongs only to them. What makes it even more complicated is that this dual experience doesn't happen in separate seasons of life. It happens daily. In one moment, they feel full, driven, and sharp, as if everything is falling into place. Hours later, they may feel disconnected, hollow, and detached, as if nothing really matters. They swing between gratitude for what they have and indifference toward it, like living with two clashing realities that refuse to merge. The abundance keeps them grounded. It reminds them they're capable of building, creating, and surviving. The emptiness keeps them searching. It pushes them to question, to explore, and to never settle for surface-level living. And that's why they can't live like everyone else. Most people are satisfied with consistent comfort, but Sigma males are wired to wrestle with this duality. It's not weakness and it's not depression, it's a sign of depth. They've realized life doesn't hand out ultimate fulfillment, only glimpses of it. So they live with both truths at once. A full life that looks enviable from the outside, and an inner world that reminds them abundance can't erase the hunger for something more. That hunger is what shapes them. Number 6. They're simultaneously forgettable and unforgettable. Sigma males exist in a strange contradiction. They're both forgettable and unforgettable at the same time. In public life, they slip through unnoticed. They don't chase the spotlight, they don't perform for attention, and they don't decorate themselves with loud displays to stay relevant. This makes them easy to overlook. In a crowded room, they can disappear like a shadow, blending into the background while louder personalities fight for dominance. To most casual acquaintances, they may barely register, a quiet figure, present but unremarkable, someone who doesn't demand to be remembered. But that's only one half of the story. In private circles or in relationships where people truly get close, Sigma males have the opposite effect. They leave a mark so strong it's almost haunting. Their conversations dig deeper than small talk. Their presence carries an unusual gravity, and their silence often says more than other people's noise. They reveal just enough of themselves to stir curiosity, but hold back enough to remain mysterious. That tension makes them unforgettable. Long after they're gone, people find themselves replaying their words, analyzing their behavior, and wondering why their presence felt so different from anyone else's. This duality confuses people. How can someone be invisible in the crowd but impossible to erase from memory in private? The truth is that Sigma males are selective with their energy. They don't waste intensity on the masses. They reserve it for the few people and situations they decide are worth it. That choice creates contrast, indifference to most, intensity to a select few. And intensity is what burns into memory. Being both forgettable and unforgettable gives them a strange kind of power. They can move unnoticed when they want freedom, and they can leave a lasting imprint when they want impact. Most people only know how to do one or the other. Either they fight to be remembered by everyone, or they fade away from everyone. Sigma males can do both at will, and that's what unsettles people the most. You may forget their face in a crowd, but if you ever see their true self, they'll live rent-free in your mind forever. Number 7. They're misunderstood by both worlds they inhabit. Sigma males live with the constant tension of being misunderstood by both worlds they inhabit. In society, they're often seen as distant, cold, or even arrogant, because they don't follow the usual scripts that make people feel comfortable. They don't overshare, they don't cling to groups, and they don't bend themselves to fit social expectations. From the outside, that looks like aloofness, like they're detached from humanity altogether. People misread their independence as rejection, when in reality, it's simply how they survive in a world that thrives on conformity. But the paradox is that their private world doesn't fully embrace them either. When they turn inward, they face the raw, unfiltered version of themselves. And that self often feels too human, too vulnerable, too conflicted, too flawed. The same man who looks unshakable on the outside wrestles with uncertainty, restlessness, and questions that don't have answers. Their inner life exposes their humanity in ways that clash with the detached figure society thinks they are. So, in one world, they're accused of being too cold. In the other, they accuse themselves of being too human. This leaves them in a permanent state of in-betweenness. They don't fully belong to the external world because they won't surrender their independence. And they don't fully belong to their internal world because they can't live entirely inside their own head without going numb. So they run both lives in parallel, balancing the tension instead of trying to resolve it. It's not about deception. It's about survival. What makes this existence so complex is that both misunderstandings fuel each other. The more society misreads them as aloof, the more they retreat inward. And the more they confront the raw mess of their inner life, the more they need to project composure in public just to function. It's a cycle that never ends, but it's also what gives them depth. Sigma males don't get the luxury of being fully seen or fully understood, not even by themselves. They exist between two worlds, walking a line that no one else even notices exists, and that's why their lives will always run in two separate lanes. Number 8. They build private worlds that outsiders will never enter. Sigma males are architects of private worlds, and those worlds are often more alive to them than the one everyone else sees. While most people anchor their identity entirely in the social sphere, jobs, relationships, routines, a Sigma quietly invests enormous energy into building something hidden. It could be a creative pursuit that consumes their nights, an obsession that looks pointless to others but feels essential to them, or even a completely separate persona online where they can unleash parts of themselves the public version would never allow. These worlds aren't hobbies or passing interests. They're entire realities, just as real and valid as their outer existence. What makes these private realms so unique is their exclusivity. Outsiders will never enter, no matter how close they think they are. A partner might share a home with a Sigma male for years and never glimpse the full extent of the secret life he's built. Friends might feel like they know him well, yet remain oblivious to the alternative universes where he spends his most valuable time. It's not secrecy for the sake of secrecy, it's protection. These hidden worlds give him freedom from judgment, misunderstanding, and delusion. Once others step in, the purity of it would be lost. In these private spaces, the Sigma male is unfiltered. He doesn't have to translate his thoughts into socially acceptable language or worry about how they'll be received. He can dive into strange ideas, extreme creativity, or relentless analysis without interruption. These worlds often fuel his outer life, even if nobody realizes it. The quiet strength, the confidence, the sharp insights, many of them are born in those hidden rooms of the mind. And here's the catch. Outsiders often sense that something is there. They can feel there's a dimension of him they'll never reach, a locked door that stays closed no matter how much trust is built. This creates both fascination and frustration. People are drawn to the mystery but resent being excluded from it. Yet that's precisely why Sigma males keep those worlds sealed off. If everything about them were accessible, they'd lose the very edge that makes them who they are. For them, the hidden life isn't optional, it's sacred. Number 9, they're loyal to people who don't even know it. Sigma males have a strange kind of loyalty, one that often goes unseen by the very people who benefit from it. On the surface, they can look cold, detached, or indifferent, as if they don't care who stays or who goes. But underneath that exterior, there's another life where they silently protect and root for people who may never even realize it. Their loyalty doesn't always show up as words of encouragement or constant presence. Instead, it takes quieter forms, defending someone in conversations when they're not around, watching out for them from a distance, or keeping secrets safe long after others would have let them slip. What makes this loyalty so unusual is that it doesn't always demand recognition. Sigma males don't tie their loyalty to applause, validation, or being thanked. They don't need to announce it, and often they prefer not to. For them, loyalty is more about principle than performance. If they decide someone matters, they'll stand by that person in ways invisible to the public eye. It might mean supporting their growth silently, stepping in only when things are about to collapse, or even removing themselves from the picture if staying would cause harm. This hidden loyalty can be confusing to outsiders. People expect loyalty to look loud and obvious. Constant checking in, visible acts of sacrifice, public displays of commitment. But Sigma loyalty doesn't work that way. It's understated, often invisible, and sometimes misinterpreted as indifference. Ironically, this means some people walk away from a Sigma thinking he never cared, when in reality he was silently protecting them all along. The duality here is powerful. In one life, the Sigma male may appear distant, giving little away. In another, he's fully invested in the well-being of certain people, sometimes more deeply than they'll ever know. That hidden loyalty is both his gift and his curse. It allows him to protect people without becoming entangled in drama or dependency. But it also means he rarely gets credit for the depth of his commitment. For Sigma males, though, the credit doesn't matter. What matters is living by a code that others don't have to understand, because the loyalty is real, even if it remains unseen. Number 10. They're present, but always preparing to leave. Sigma males have a way of being fully present while never truly anchored. In social or professional settings, they give their energy, attention, and focus like anyone else. They'll contribute to conversations, deliver results, or even appear relaxed in the moment. To the people around them, it feels like they're committed and invested. But beneath that surface, there's always another layer running in the background, a quiet readiness to walk away at any time. They live with one foot in and one foot out, never attaching themselves so tightly that leaving would be impossible. This isn't about fear of commitment or being unreliable. It's about freedom. Sigma males know that every environment, every group, and every relationship comes with conditions, rules, expectations, and unspoken demands. They can play along, but they refuse to let those conditions trap them. By keeping their exit strategy in mind, they protect their independence. While others root themselves so deeply that they can't escape without chaos, the Sigma male is always prepared to cut ties cleanly and move on if the balance tips too far. That hidden awareness gives them a unique kind of calm. They don't get desperate in situations because they already know they can leave. They don't cling to jobs, titles, or even relationships out of fear of losing them, because they've already mentally rehearsed what life would look like without them. This mindset makes them harder to manipulate. You can't threaten a man with loss when he's already made peace with the idea of losing. The irony is that while they're ready to leave, they're not half-hearted when they stay. They can give their full effort in the present moment precisely because they don't feel chained to it. But people who get close to them sometimes sense this duality. They can feel the presence, but they also sense the distance. that quiet possibility that the Sigma male could vanish tomorrow without warning. It's a life lived on two levels, engaged in the now, but unconsciously planning for the exit. To most, that seems cold. To a Sigma, it's survival. It's how they protect their freedom without robbing the present of their full attention. Number 11. They're forced to translate themselves constantly. Sigma males live with the constant pressure of translation. The way they think in private rarely matches the way the world communicates in public. Their inner language is sharper, heavier, and often too direct for ordinary conversations. It's a language made of raw honesty, brutal clarity, and complex connections that don't land well in surface-level talk. But when they step into society, they have to water it down, soften it, and repackage it into something palatable. They're always converting what they really want to say into what people are able to hear. This process is exhausting. A single thought can go through multiple layers of editing before it comes out of their mouth. They know that if they speak in the unfiltered language of their private life, it will either confuse people or push them away. Too much truth sounds arrogant. Too much depth feels heavy. Too much honesty can be read as cruelty. So they constantly bend their inner world to fit the vocabulary of the outer one. The irony is that this makes them both effective and isolated. Effective because they know how to adjust their voice to get results. Isolated because they almost never feel fully understood. What comes out of their mouth is rarely a full reflection of what's going on inside. And after years of this, they get used to the loneliness of knowing that most people only ever interact with a translated version of them. Sometimes, this leads to moments of rebellion. They'll drop an unfiltered statement, a flash of their real voice, and watch as it unsettles the room. Most people don't know what to do with that level of clarity. Some are drawn in, others are repelled, but almost nobody walks away unaffected. That's why Sigma males learn to ration those moments. Too much truth too often would leave them cut off from the very society they need to navigate. Living like this means always being bilingual, fluent in the inner world that fuels their depth and fluent in the outer world that demands simplicity. It's not deception, it's survival. Without translation, they'd be exiled. With too much translation, they'd erase themselves. Balancing both is the only way they can live. Number 12. They're feared for the same reason they're ignored. Sigma males occupy a paradox that unsettles people. They're feared and ignored for the exact same reason. On the surface, they don't self-promote. They don't push their presence, exaggerate their value, or compete for constant recognition. In a society built on noise and visibility, that makes them easy to overlook. People pass them by without noticing, assuming they're just another quiet figure blending into the background. Their refusal to advertise themselves translates as insignificance in the eyes of those who only measure worth by volume. But the same silence that makes them ignorable also makes them dangerous. When a Sigma male is in the room, people begin to sense something they can't explain. His silence feels less like absence and more like observation. Others start second-guessing themselves, suddenly aware of how much they're revealing just by talking too much. Without saying a word, he creates the unnerving sense that he sees more than he lets on. That perception of hidden depth, of quiet judgment, triggers fear, even in people who dismissed him just moments before. This contradiction builds two separate realities around him. To some, he's invisible, not worth considering, a background character in the larger play of life. To others, he's unsettling, someone who can't be figured out, someone whose very silence feels like a mirror reflecting their insecurities back at them. Both realities exist at the same time, and Sigma males navigate them without effort. They don't fight to change how people see them, because both reactions serve their purpose. Being ignored grants them freedom. Being feared grants them power. Most people crave attention, or at least consistency in how others perceive them. Sigma males don't. They know that being both forgettable and intimidating gives them a kind of dual advantage. They can move undetected when they want peace, and they can command respect without demanding it when the situation calls for it. It's not a strategy they consciously plan, it's a natural byproduct of how they live. Their silence is their camouflage and their weapon, making them both invisible and unforgettable, overlooked and feared, all at the same time. Sigma males live in two different lives. Not because they're confused, lost, or trying to hide, but because it's the only way they can exist in a world that demands conformity, while their very nature resists it. In one life, they play the role the world expects, measured, capable, sometimes even forgettable. In the other, they protect the raw, unfiltered truths of who they are. The chaos, the silence, the shadow self, the loyalty no one sees, the constant need to translate thoughts that don't fit into ordinary language. This duality is what makes them impossible to pin down. To some, they appear invisible. To others, they're unforgettable. To one world, they're too cold. To their inner world, they're too human. They are both feared and ignored, both calm and restless, both connected and detached. And yet this tension isn't a weakness, it's their survival mechanism. They live with one foot in reality and one foot in retreat, fully present but always ready to leave. They carry secrets, build hidden worlds, and protect people in silence, even when those people will never know. To merge these two lives would be to destroy themselves. If they gave the world their private truth, it would overwhelm and alienate. If they only lived publicly, they would suffocate and vanish into conformity. The Sigma's strength lies in keeping these parallel lives intact, in knowing when to show the polished version and when to guard the raw one. It's not deception, it's discipline. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. That's why Sigma males will always remain an enigma. Not fully here, not fully there. Not completely understood by anyone, sometimes not even by themselves. And yet, this split life is exactly what makes them whole. They are the calm storm, the silent observer, the hidden force society overlooks at its own risk. If this resonated with you, don't just keep it to yourself. Sunshine to the channel so you never miss content that cuts this deep. Hit that like button to show your support. Drop a comment to share your thoughts and spread this video with those who need to see what most people never talk about.